Ramses II looked at me across the dinner table and said, "You know what made me the richest pharaoh in history? I didn't just rule Egypt. I owned Egypt." He adjusted his golden collar necklace. "When I controlled the Nile, I controlled the world's food supply. When I controlled Nubian gold mines, I controlled the world's currency. My empire was worth $1 trillion in today's money. That's not just wealth, that's divine economic power." Tonight, I'm having dinner with Ramses II, the great ancestor who ruled Egypt for 66 years and built an empire that modern economists estimate would be worth over $1 trillion today. We're in an opulent setting that mirrors the grandeur of ancient Thebes, and he's about to reveal how he transformed Egypt from a regional kingdom into the ancient world's first economic superpower. "Let me explain how I built wealth that lasted 3 millennia, Ramses began, his voice carrying the authority that commanded respect from the Mediterranean to Nubia. Most rulers think power comes from armies, but true power comes from controlling what people cannot replace: water, food, gold, and trade routes. He gestured toward an ornate golden goblet that sparkled with the same brilliance as the treasures buried with pharaohs. When I ascended the throne in 1279 BCE, Egypt was already prosperous. But I understood something my predecessors had missed. Wealth isn't just about accumulating resources, it's about systematically controlling the systems that create resources forever. The Nile River was my greatest asset. Every year, the Nile floods deposited fertile silt across Egypt's farmland, making our soil the most productive in the ancient world. While other civilizations struggled with unpredictable agriculture, Egypt produced surplus grain consistently. Ramses' strategic thinking reflected the same systematic approach that built empires lasting thousands of years. But controlling agriculture wasn't enough. I needed to control the entire economic ecosystem. The Nubian gold mines to the south provided unlimited currency. The Mediterranean ports to the north controlled international trade. The Red Sea routes to the east connected us with Asian markets. By systematically expanding Egyptian influence over these critical resources, I created what modern economists would call vertical integration on a continental scale. Egypt didn't just participate in ancient global trade, we controlled the infrastructure that made ancient global trade possible. The military campaigns weren't about conquest for glory, they were about resource acquisition and trade route security. Nubia provided gold, silver, ivory, and exotic animals. The Levant controlled land bridges between Asia and Africa. Syria provided access to Mesopotamian markets. The first course arrived with presentation that rivaled royal banquets, reflecting the abundance that characterized Ramses' reign. The economic mathematics were irrefutable. Egyptian grain fed the Mediterranean world during famines. Nubian gold provided currency stability for international trade. Egyptian ships transported goods between 3 continents. When you control what everyone needs, you can charge premium prices while maintaining absolute security. But the real breakthrough was understanding that wealth isn't just about extraction, it's about systematic value creation that benefits everyone while ensuring Egyptian dominance. Our trading partners prospered, but Egypt prospered more. The treaty with the Hittites in 1259 BCE exemplifies this approach. Everyone expected perpetual warfare between our empires. Instead, I negotiated the world's first comprehensive peace treaty, establishing trade agreements that made both civilizations richer than military conquest ever could. War destroys value. Trade creates value. 40 years of peace with the Hittites generated more wealth for Egypt than centuries of military campaigns. Instead of spending resources on armies, I invested resources in infrastructure that generated returns for millennia. Ramses pulled out detailed papyrus scrolls that contained economic records spanning his entire reign. Pi-Ramesses, my new capital city, wasn't just royal residence. It was economic command center designed to optimize trade flows throughout the ancient world. Located in the Nile Delta, it provided perfect access to Mediterranean shipping, overland Asian routes, and southern African resources. The city's architecture demonstrated Egyptian wealth and technological superiority to visiting foreign dignitaries, convincing them that partnership with Egypt was more profitable than competition against Egypt. Soft power generated more sustainable results than military intimidation. The monument construction program served multiple economic purposes simultaneously. Abu Simbel, Karnak Temple, Luxor Temple. These weren't just religious buildings, they were massive public works projects that employed thousands of skilled workers while demonstrating Egyptian prosperity to the world. Monument building was economic stimulus, international marketing, and religious devotion combined into systematic wealth creation. Workers received wages, spent money throughout Egypt, and developed skills that increased productivity across all sectors. The main course featured delicacies that would have graced pharaonic tables, exotic spices, prime cuts of meat, and culinary artistry that reflected ancient Egyptian sophistication. The systematic approach to resource management created unprecedented abundance. Egyptian granaries stored 7 years of surplus grain, providing food security during regional famines while generating enormous profits from grain exports to less fortunate civilizations. When famine struck the Hittite Empire, Mesopotamia, or Mediterranean islands, Egypt became their survival source. Desperate buyers pay premium prices, and grateful customers become loyal trading partners. Egyptian grain diplomacy was more effective than Egyptian military diplomacy. The gold mines of Nubia produced an estimated 2,000 tons of gold during my reign, more precious metal than most modern nations possess in their reserves. But raw gold wasn't the real value. Processed Egyptian jewelry, religious artifacts, and luxury goods commanded exponentially higher prices in international markets. Egyptian craftsmen transformed Nubian raw materials into finished products that royal courts worldwide coveted. Value-added manufacturing created profit margins that pure resource extraction could never achieve. The Red Sea trade routes connected Egypt with India, enabling access to spices, silks, precious stones, and exotic goods that commanded enormous prices in Mediterranean markets. Egyptian merchants became intermediaries for global luxury trade. Ramses reflected on the systematic nature of his wealth-building strategies. The systematic taxation system generated consistent revenue without destroying economic incentives. Instead of extracting maximum short-term tribute, I implemented sustainable tax rates that encouraged economic growth while ensuring steady government income. Prosperous citizens pay more taxes than struggling citizens. Economic policies that increased general prosperity increased royal revenues more effectively than policies that maximized immediate extraction. The administrative bureaucracy I developed created professional management systems that functioned efficiently whether I was present or absent. Delegated authority with accountability measures ensured consistent governance across vast territories. Egypt's economic success attracted talented administrators, skilled craftsmen, and innovative merchants from across the ancient world. Immigration of human capital accelerated technological advancement and economic development. The educational systems we established produced literate administrators, skilled engineers, and competent managers who could implement complex economic policies throughout the empire. Human capital development was as important as physical capital accumulation. As dinner progressed, Ramses explained the cultural and religious dimensions of his economic empire. The divine pharaoh concept wasn't just religious belief, it was economic strategy. When people believe their ruler is divine, they trust that ruler's economic policies and decisions. Trust reduces transaction costs and increases economic efficiency. Religious festivals weren't just spiritual observances. They were economic events that stimulated trade, encouraged travel, and demonstrated Egyptian prosperity to international visitors. Temple economies generated enormous wealth while maintaining social cohesion. The mummification industry alone employed thousands of specialists and generated substantial revenue from domestic and foreign customers. Egyptian expertise in preservation attracted wealthy clients from across the Mediterranean world. Egyptian medicine, mathematics, engineering, and astronomy attracted international students who paid substantial fees while spreading Egyptian influence throughout the ancient world. Educational exports were as valuable as physical exports. The systematic documentation of knowledge, hieroglyphic records, mathematical papyri, engineering plans, medical texts, created intellectual property that maintained Egyptian technological advantages over competitors. As dinner concluded, Ramses summarized his philosophy of divine economic dominance. When you study wealth building, don't just study how to make money. Study how to control the fundamental systems that create money forever. Water, food, energy, strategic locations, human needs. These are the foundations of eternal economic power. My $1 trillion empire wasn't built through innovation or disruption. It was built through systematic control of irreplaceable resources combined with strategic policies that made everyone prosper while ensuring Egyptian supremacy. This evening with Ramses II revealed that the greatest wealth builders in history didn't just accumulate resources. They built systematic control over the fundamental systems that create value, ensuring their empires would generate wealth long after their deaths. Don't forget to subscribe and check out the other videos to hear the most private dinner conversations where billionaires reveal their deepest secrets. Which part inspired you the most? Drop it in the comments. Let's figure out how to become billionaires together.